Right. For me, right, I work in a very unique space in terms of we are developmental, but we're also competitive. And and that for me is the best of both worlds because I don't think you can develop anybody without competition. Like, if you really want development, then you have to be in a competition. It sharpens, you know, the edgy, it's becoming a bit more focused. However, you can also be carried away with the hype, with the results, with the media, and now lose sight of the development. So, it needs a bit of skill to balance it up. So, on the development side, I don't think there's a bad way to play. And I'm going to speak because everybody here is a Nigerian coach, I think. And our objectives, if you have to connect the reason why we coach to the bigger picture in terms of how do you even make money from coaching, right? And I'm coaching for passion. Like, please stop this passion. Like, it does, like, bro, you want to be paid, and I think you would be paid better if you can bring value to your organization, right? And value in terms of money, right? So we might be winning trophies, but I make a lot of money for Beyond Limits, like a shitload of money. And how do you make money? By selling players. How do you sell players? By creating players that can be bought. Who is going to buy them? You don't know. Yeah, you don't know now. When you don't. And so how do you now choose the type of players to develop? If you think also because a system of play will tilt the player's formation towards a certain profile. Do you get me? Like, I have strikers that are fox in the box. I have strikers that are Lukaku type. I have striker that is like, do you understand? Like different profiles, but in the same team, and they would play. Like this season, I had 6 attackers. We have sold the 6, but they're not even the same players. Like if they play, they give different things to the game. Different things to the game. There's the one that wants to dribble. There's the one that is just going to go 1v1 to cross. There's one that is just going to be running throughout. But how you can't have all those personalities, right, in a closed system? Because in a closed system, you want there's the behavior that you want the team to have when the ball is on the wings. There's a behavior you want the team to have when the ball is in the central area. But that would create a certain type of player. I'm not La Masia, right? And so I'm not trying to build players for a system. My friend, you cannot have a closed system as a youth coach, in my opinion, because you are doing a big disservice to the players under your tutelage. Because your system would always look. Every system is built on what you have. So for example, you've got ball playing midfielders in the generation of players you have. So you are building a possession base. They are very patient in going forward. But you see, you take your players to a scouting match. You say, they don't pick up my players, but we played well. Because you do not have the players that have the attributes that they're looking for. You have strikers that wait for the final ball. They are playing on the shoulder. These guys, for example, come to look for a striker that can play by himself, like long ball to him. He can fight, he can run the channel by himself. But all your training and all your formation the last 2 years, the striker has to be patient, come deep to touch the ball, wait, you understand? He needs combinations to play. Friend, if this boy goes to a small club in wherever, right, where the team is always defending, he's going to fail his trial. Why? Because all his education, the midfielders are around him close to the box, right? So he can connect, he can run between channels, he can do sharp combinations. And that's what he has learned for the last 2 years, because you didn't give him any other type of stimulus, right? So he probably can do it if he's in the environment to do it. It's a very dicey one, because you think that, but you need to have a style, my friend. You need to remember your objective. What is the end goal of why you are coaching? If you remember it, it helps you manage your feelings. It helps you manage you will still have your identity. but it means that you are going to be challenged more as a coach. It's a lot more work because now you have to look at every session to ensure that your sessions do not deny them some learning opportunities. You need to create sessions that can accommodate different types of profiles. Do you understand? And allow these profiles to blossom by the type. Imagine if your coaching intervention is always stopping a certain type of action. Do you get? Because that action goes against your game model. You understand? And hey, stop. No, I've told you before, don't receive like this, my friend. That receiving that he's receiving might not be bad for football, but it's not the best for, for the idea you have in your mind. You get? But you are not the one that will sign your player. You are not. You are not the one. You are preparing this player for a market you cannot. You have an idea what the market wants, right? Because you watch the football, but you do not know which part of the market. Because the football they play in Czech Republic is not entirely the same football if you are going to sell a player to in the Italian market or the Spanish market. So what can you do? Create the players that can adapt. Adaptation is the biggest asset a player can have. An African player, a Nigerian player. And for you to create a sense of adaptation, it means you continually take players away from their comfort zones. In your drills, in your matches, in the system you develop. Look, I'll tell you something funny, and I'll share this with all of you here. Look, we have a style of play, we've won everything that is in front of us this season. Wow, fantastic. And I got back from the national team and we're preparing for the playoffs, this NNL playoffs. And I just go to training on my first training. I say, guys, we're changing the formation. And my assistants look at me like, what are you? What do you mean we are changing the formation? I'm like, we're changing the formation. We're playing 4-1-3-2 now. 4-1-3-2, two strikers. We don't play two strikers at the same time. I said, we are playing two strikers now. And then we play three guys behind, is two wingers and a midfielder, and then one. So I need these two midfielders to be ball players. They need to be ball players, and also they need to be possession masters, and they can recover the ball, blah, blah, blah. I give a lot of speech about the importance of doing, and they are asking me, but why are we doing it now? We have a playoff in 1 week. Can't we wait till next season? I'm saying it's now, because that's what we're going to play in the playoff. And then my assistant says to me, he says, but coach, don't you think that we won't have enough time to understand this play? I say they have to adapt. You see, there's a level of success you have that complacency begins to creep in. And players that are still learning because they are achieving some small success, they start thinking that they now know how to play. It's a lie, you don't know how to play. You are still a process. So it's important that when I now put a new system brings new demands. These demands force learning. I just wanted learning. My friend, I didn't have intention to change any system. But I am now putting everybody in a situation where they have to now, oh boy, I need to get into this squad. This system is changed. Before we have three midfielders, now one midfielder has to go to the bench. That means every midfielder that wants to play must now take on a new attribute. It's nothing like, oh, I'm the ball player, you are the one that marks. No, he said it's two now. We have to mark. Oh, second striker. Okay, good. How do we play with two? See, there's a lot of variables, but the variables allow for learning. It allows for trying new things. It allows for new constellations to form. And imagine if you're just dogged on one way, you limit creativity, you limit spontaneity. Like, people can't do out of the box things because you already have confined them to your own limitations. Like, you have boxed them. And they would not surprise you. Your players will hardly surprise you. You won't go like, wow, what was that? Because no, they are going to do exactly what you have been saying. Pass here, run here, touch here, pass here, run here. So you understand? Everybody says allow freedom, but many people don't allow freedom. You get? Because freedom is expensive. It's expensive. It's a people we like to say it to make us look like it's what we heard Jurgen Klopp said. But in real life, nobody allows it because you know what you want. Because this guy is going to give me a stroke. How do you turn back in? Why are you trying to dribble under pressure, my friend? He said, Coach, but you said I should be free. When did I say you should be free? I didn't tell you to be free, my friend. Pass this ball and kick this ball away. And so we have to try to find the way to know that we will not lose our authority when we allow freedom. I think that's where it is. And play and it's a it's a fear of losing your control. The fear that I might not be the voice of wisdom in my team if I tell them to do whatever they want, especially, and it now works. It now looks as if am I smarter than the coach? Did you get me? And the fear of losing, hey, don't do it, don't even try, so that everybody can still look at the coach as the all in all. And that comes from a place of insecurity when you're not sure of yourself and your own abilities. That look, do whatever you want. If it works, fantastic. We own the success together. If it doesn't work, we own the fuck ups together, right? And just try. Let me see what you are trying to do. Show me. Okay, this is what I think you can do. This is how I think you can do it. This is you get and guide. And you would find players playing at a level that is almost on autopilot if you get to that point, because they come into training eager and willing to, because they know that they can try stuff. And if you now get them to the point where they are now self-critical, do you understand, and can take responsibility, they will also tell you when they've not done it well. They're like, I know I fucked up. I know. Overdo there. They know, right? Because they made the choice. And when they now know that, look, there's no mistake here. Everything that you have done is your choice. There's nothing like, coach, now, but it's a mistake. No. When they get to that level of understanding and you now open it up for them to try different systems, coaches, man, we can create magic. Absolute magic. Post-match tools to improve the individuals and the team. Which ones do I employ? Of course, video for sure. And of course, you have to use some of the data. We are on Eyeball and on Y Scout, and this helps to give you actionable data. Because sometimes when you watch the game, you cannot remember every detail as a coach. Some games have just one big moment, the moment you score, the moment you concede, but there are also many small things that happen in between that leads to that. If you are a HACCP guy like myself, you need to watch the video, because there you can now track, the behaviors, the actions and inactions that have contributed to different highlights in the match during the event. Of course, if you have look, I have resources here at the moment, so it's important I can deploy resources to get this done. But when I did not have the resources, I used to ensure that my games are recorded, and most importantly, I used to ensure that my training is recorded. And why do I record training? Apart from the fact that I want to be critical of myself, to hear myself, to see if, of course, sometimes you can plan a session and then the session goes a different way. You can also adjust during the session. You want to be able to see if learning happened during the session. And if you can now watch that session and watch the game after and see if there are similarities or events that are happening that you can draw that look, I can see it. And also, you can show a player, if you want to foster a learning environment, and look at what you were doing in training, look at what you did in the game. Can you see that because you applied yourself in training, you are able to apply yourself in the game? And this can help training behavior if players can connect their work to their results. So these are the tools that I use. Nothing, just find a ball, find some children that feel like playing football, and you can coach. Nigeria does not have any law that stops you from coaching per se. But of course, if you want to be a good coach, you have to now put in some work to get a license. You have to go to the NIS, you have to go to the NIS, and then you can now start training. And of course, if you want to be a good coach, you have to now put in some work to get a license. You have to go to the NIS, you have to go to the NIS, and then you can now start training. at least for a start, and do some other professional courses like FCAN. You have to go to webinars like you're here now. There's knowledge you will get here that you won't get in any coaching course anywhere. Because you'll be listening to people that have been on the job, people that have failed, people that have succeeded. And so that's, real life experience that can help you. Why do you want to be unique? Is that not fueling a bit of your ego? Why do you want to be unique? Look, I'm not a fan of coaches and coaching acronyms. I'm not really a fan of it. I do not believe in that direction because I think it puts more spotlight on the person than on the job. I think that, and this everything I'm saying here is my perspective, right? And what I think. I don't like to be the face of anything. You get, like, I think coaching is more than you just trying to win a match. Coaching is more like a missionary work, sort of like you are sent to liberate people and help them to achieve a lot of potential hidden in them. And if you are in that kind of field, I think it should be less about you and more about the people involved. And so I don't think you should strive to be unique. What do you want to do? Do you want to be playing the football in the air, or what's the thing that you want to do in coaching that is not being done or has not been done? Right? I think you should just focus on working hard, have a lot of integrity. I think that's very important. And just be open to learning. I think you will find your own corner in the space eventually. And a perfect example is me, myself. I'm not unique in any way, per se, right? But you might enjoy listening to me is because maybe I spent a lot of time getting the knowledge. I'm only speaking about what has happened in my journey. I'm not telling you anything that I've not experienced or that I have not tried. And in as much as maybe my journey has results and we've got a bit of success, but it's not about me per se, it's not about the players and the project itself. So I'm not it's less about me. And I think that is what makes you unique as a coach. If you can forget about yourself and put the players and the project first, I think that's, in this era that we are, it's the unique thing. Just be yourself, and that's what I think would work for you. That's a very, very nice one. And this is very important because, like I said, you need to understand why you are coaching, and a lot of humility comes to play here. For me, I know how to play football. I don't know if you watch me play football before anybody, but I can play football. But very early on in my life, I knew that, look, I would not have the time or the support to play football. And I preferred to coach because I like more of even when I play, I try to control my teammates. Like, hey, don't pass this way, don't pass. I try to see the game on the pitch. So yes, I can play. But early on, I figured out that, look, because when I play, I'm a forward player. I know how to dribble. I know how to score. At my level, though, don't get me wrong. It's not like you think I'm not EPL standard striker. I'm just local level striker, school striker. But I also try to ensure that I played every position. Even when we're playing school games, when I went to, even at my youth service, I was a player, scored a wicked goal in the NYC camp so that I can get posted to town. And then I stopped going to the CDS as a player. And the coach was like, why are you not? I said, I'm not a player, I'm a coach. I only played because I wanted to be in your team, because everybody in your team stays in the town, right? I don't plan, but I can be your assistant now. And I started coaching. When I was in youth service also, I joined a team, Enugu Angels, I remember, to be a player. Why? Because they were playing in the amateur league, and I told the coach I want to be in his team. I tried to be in the team, and they put me on the bench a lot. And I liked it because if you don't understand what it feels to be on the bench, you might not be empathetic towards your players on the bench. You might not understand how to behave because you've not experienced what it means. So you might not understand it. It's important to put yourself in the shoes of the practitioners, the players, sometimes to be able to now have a to be able to have the right perspective when you are dealing with issues, right? And sometimes when you are yelling at your player, why didn't you do this? You've never been in that situation. You don't even have an idea what it means to be in that situation. You've never run on the pitch for 90 minutes at all. You've not done it once. And you are critical of people that are struggling to do it because you are comparing them to somebody else. It's important that you have an idea. So what am I saying? Even if you have not played football, it's important to learn the process of how it is. Can you find time to talk to people that have played? Let them share their experience with you. I don't think every experience is learned by actually doing, right? It's sometimes we travel by reading. When you read some books, you see things that you travel to places that you have not been to. When you watch if you watch Nat Geo Wild, for example, you know which snake to run from, but you have not actually seen the snake. But you know from what you have seen that this snake is trouble. Or you get my point is there's a lot of ways to gather experience without actually being the one in the journey. If you have the opportunity to be in the journey, yes. If you are young enough to play five-a-side with your friends, try and play. Because yes, you can coach players when you are not able to do it, but you can accelerate their learning if you are able to show them a bit more, right? And if you now have players that are advanced in the technique that you are trying to coach, yes, you can use these players as a reference point. For example, I used to have a certain run that a player in my team, my captain, Onibuchi Obasi, plays for Valerenga now, he used to make. We call it the Obasi run. That's what we call it in Beyond Limits. So everybody from under 19s to under 15s, they know it's the Obasi run, right? When you say it, they understand it because they've watched him do it so many times. Bear in mind that I can draw that run on the paper, but I actually can't run that run myself, right? Because it takes a lot of there's a lot of intention. He disguises it, he takes off. I will tell you for a fact that this season, because he left in January, and this season I had another winger come in and he does those runs to the detail. I never coached that run, but I always say the Obasi run, right? Because we've defined it as a skill that you can learn from your teammate. And I encourage to say, look, why everybody pick your phone? You're going to be watching best of Neymar, best of Pogba. You don't need to watch that. Watch Parobo. He's in front of you. He's a striker. There are many things he can do that if you add to what you can do, you are top. And the best thing, you can speak to him about it. Guy, how you do this thing, man? He say, oh boy, I run like this, I run like that. Listen, it takes openness as a coach to now give learning responsibilities or coaching responsibilities and share it amongst the players. Like I said, you must be at a point where you understand that the objective is that they learn. The objective is not that you are God, right? If maybe you know that you don't have to be God, you will find different tools. You can go online and show them stuff, but because you don't want them to know that you are learning stuff from somewhere, you don't want to show them. Some coaches want to be the one that created the magic. The same skill, you will name it your own skill so that you are the one that created it, so that they can look at you like the alpha and omega. My friend, you are shortchanging yourself. There's everything you need online. There's Queva. There's a lot of videos everywhere. You understand that you can use to educate your player. Do not feel like if he learns it on YouTube, he will now not respect you anymore because he learned it on YouTube and he's going to say, Coach, I learned it on YouTube. You want him to say in his interview, I give thanks to my coach. He taught me everything. That's what you want. And because of that, and you can't, you cannot give everything because you, like this question says, you didn't do everything. You didn't. Even if you played football, did you play all the positions? Were you a striker and a defender and a midfielder and a goalkeeper? You were not. right? So there's no way you are going to be able to teach the player everything. You must allow for the environment. You must use all the tools available at your disposal to help the player to be better. And that's why you must not be, and that is what makes you unique. I go back to the unique guy. The ability to do that, step away from the image of you being the center of everything and allow the tools to help you if your objective is to improve your players. Yep. See, everything comes down to you as a coach. It comes down to you, your level of understanding, your level of empathy, um, why you coach. If you are realistic if you are a realist or you are living in your fake world, if you are calling yourself the Guardiola of Songo, for example, there is no, you'll be carrying yourself like Guardiola, carrying your folder up and down. The players must come. You don't know if the player is eating. You don't know the situation in the house. You are just, this is my rule. Your rule must be something that can accommodate the the conditions of your players. You cannot come to Beyond Limits, look at their rules, then go back to your club and do the same rules. My brother, it's not easy. For example, in Beyond Limits, they don't use phones. How do you tell people not to use phones? Adults, young boys. It doesn't make sense. But they don't use phones. But because I know they don't use phones, we create you give them options for fun. Because people need to have fun, unless they get bored. So you make sure there's PlayStation, you make sure there's DSTV, you make sure there is, small things. There's a computer room where you can use the computer, and play games on the computer and do stuff on the computer, but you just don't have a phone. But you have a small phone also. You can talk to your girlfriend, you can, but you don't do WhatsApp or Instagram or Facebook or TikTok, blah, 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 So if you come and say, this Beyond Limits, it might be the phone knows why they are winning. You go back to your team and you seize everybody's phone. And maybe you have a camp, you seize their phone. You people don't have DSTV, they will kill themselves in your camp. I'm sure they will break that camp because it's impossible, man. It's impossible. You need to be realistic. You cannot just transfer one idea into your environment without understanding your environment. So you want discipline, but discipline has different meanings. Discipline has different meanings, and you have to be able to choose what works for the context you are in. And sometimes your discipline can be flexible to accommodate different players' situations. You might have players that have one parent that is support and one parent not in support of the football. How do you manage that player? The mom is saying you can play, the father must not see. He would miss some days he would not miss. And you have to be able to understand that this player will not be consistent in his behavior, will not be consistent in his lateness or these things. Adapt to the environment, be empathetic, listen to your players more, and you'll be able to find a solution. Of course, you have to be disciplined also, because you cannot tell people to come early when you are always late. I'm not here to judge anybody, it's not me. I'm not saying but you have to look at yourself, because players look at the coaches a lot and they try to take a lot of inference from what we do. They might not tell you to your face, but they're seeing everything you do. How you get angry, how you deal with pressure, how you manage fame, how you manage victory, how you manage defeat, what you do after training, where do they see you, where do you hang, stuff like that. So it's important that you pay attention to yourself, because you are a role model to the players in your team for sure, and that can influence the discipline in your team.